Hello and welcome again to the Prospective series. And today we have here with us Alex Lianne. Welcome, Alex.
Thank you, Filza.
So, let me introduce you all to Alex. Alex Lianne Carter is an educator, author, and master certified neuro coach with nearly 2 decades of international experience in education. She has taught and led in school across Canada, England, and British Virgin Islands, and Panama. As the author of Free to Be Me, Alex focuses on helping children build confidence, identity, and emotional strength. She also hosts the award winning podcast Unleash and Unstoppable and supports individual and organizations in creating authentic leadership and meaningful impact. Such an amazing thing. Tell us more about you, Alex. So good to have you here on my show, and I'm very excited to know more about you.
Well, thank you, Filza. What a beautiful introduction. So thank you so much. To be introduced like that and really encompasses, my journey over these past several years. And yeah, I am a former director of educational technology and innovation. I have got the chance of teaching and traveling all over the world. And that all happened before I had children. And then about a year before um, we started our family, I experienced a burnout, a complete burnout at what I considered at that point the peak of my career. And it really completely crumbled me and crushed me and just had me questioning, like, what's wrong with me? Like, why did this happen? Someone on the outside looks very successful, yet I found myself waking up moments and days leading up to that peak moment of burnout, of second guessing and being so afraid to say the wrong thing, so afraid that people would judge me or criticize me. And this, now what I know, that this feeling of belonging I felt in jeopardy. And so through the burnout that led to me to be off school or off work, off school for 6 months. And in this process to fix myself, right, as many high performers do, I become a master certified neuro coach. And through the work that I was doing on myself and learning all about our brains and all about our self talk and our inner dialogue, I then started to be reached out by other high performers, especially women leaders, to work with me and coach and for me to coach them into what they were experiencing, right? With their burnout and this, again, internal dialogue. Then I became a mom and my world changed because now not only my background in education, I'm now a master certified neuro coach, I now have my own daughter, and being so aware of her environment and the way people are speaking around her, and also just the way that I, as her mom, was speaking to her, or even also how I was speaking to myself. And then through this process, I then also, gave birth to another daughter. So I have my two littles who are now today, I have 5.5 and almost 3. And my world changed because now, where my focus was very much as an educator, my focus now became on mom and what is the world that I want my daughters to grow up in. And at the same time, coaching in all these leadership rooms where it feels that you and I met, and seeing and standing for so many great leaders and women and men all over the world, and seeing how their internal dialogue really has them playing small, really has them walk around with so much fear, so much self doubt, lacking trust in themselves, to play big, to be seen, to follow their heart and their dreams. And it just had me, this one moment when I was breastfeeding Amelia, I had this sort of download of, what is the literature or the films and the videos that I want my children to grow up with, because we know it's based on our environment. And I became hyper aware and hypersensitive, which has some positives and sometimes moments of frustration. But I became very aware of, yeah, what was in the storybooks, while we're in some of the songs, that all these nursery rhymes that we hear. And I noticed these subtle sort of little drops of how, because of how society is and how we speak to each other, it's already leading to this negativity bias that we grow up with, right? Where our brain can be 9 times more negative towards ourselves versus positive. And it was like, when I thought about the world I want my kids to grow up in, a world of positivity, a world of gratitude, a world of possibility where they know that they can achieve anything, because what parent doesn't want that for their kid? I started to notice so subtly how our environment and our surroundings and yes, um, books and songs and TV shows at such a young age actually was creating this dialogue in them that they're growing up with. And so, when my daughter was very young and I'm breastfeeding her and me being very connected to her, I got this book, this download of Free to Be Me, of these positive affirmations that our children can go and say to themselves throughout the day so they grow up with this positive self-talk. And I really studied like what are some of the most common limiting beliefs that a lot of my high performers are faced with when leading to burnout or leading to frustration or holding themselves back. I sort of reverse engineered that of like, what do I believe was either one, missing from their childhood that they heard around them, or two, what's the belief that wasn't fully embedded in them as they grew up as adults? And so I'm a big stand for that of instead of needing to like find our confidence again or feel resilient again, because that was my story when I burnt out, was I wish I had my motivation. I wish I was confident. Is that we just grow up with the confidence and we don't have to relearn the confidence. It's just in us because we believe in ourselves and we're not letting what's going on externally impact. I mean, that's going to naturally happen, but if we're so solid internally with our own internal beliefs of strength and belief and resilience and possibility, then we raise our children with that, and then they become these thriving adults where I hope that are not going to all of this transformational work to undo these negative, the negative self-talk, the negative beliefs. They just own it, and that's what's really neat that I get to experience with my kids and hearing it from their own words. And which is a lot of what I've integrated into the story are literally the words that I have raised my daughter to say and that I invite her to say in these different moments in her day.
Absolutely. So beautiful, beautiful. So, as you said about your book, Free to Be Me, right? I would like to know more
Yeah.
about it. What inspired you exactly to write that book?
So where the title even came from, I think it's a good place to start there, is that I kept looking at, what is this common thread I'm always hearing clients say? And clients are always like, I want freedom.
Mm-hmm.
That's like one of the top things that I hear a lot of high performers ask for. They want to feel free. They want freedom, right? They don't want to be walking around with all this anxiety, all of this stress, all of this worry. They want to wake up and feel healthy. They want to feel happy. They want to feel like, they're in a really, really good place. And I really started to watch children because children already have that. They already play. They already, they fall down and they get back up and they try again and they don't get in their way. Like they just keep going. And so this is where this came from. It was like really taking those really precious moments of childhood and being able to prolong those moments based on the invitation to continue with that feeling of free, right? Being free to be who you are, right? Not trying to fit into a box, not trying to look for external validation. It's that you get to be you and you are enough just as you are. And that you get to like that's invited and encouraged because as like I know feels right in leadership, like this is work we're always inviting people to do is trust themselves, right? Not being afraid to use their voice, right? To own their uniqueness, to own who they are, right? Not having to walk around second guessing and overthinking and this analysis paralysis, which we see so much in many of the leaders today. And so that's where the freedom came. And then just looking at our children, like what are some of the moments, if they start the day with gratitude and positivity, because so many of adults today are not starting the day like that, right? And integrating things like celebration and acknowledgement and love and passion and joy. And again, this invitation to play. And this is me, like I've been invited to do that with this book as well. It's just a matter of pause of like, what would your home look like if you brought more play into home, right? What would your family look like if there was more play brought in, right? Like we go around in life and we start to take life so serious. And it's like, where did we lose all this? And so bringing back the childhood freedom, because that's it. They're free. They don't walk around with any worries or cares in the world. And how do we bring that back? So us too, as parents, right, we can embody that, we can model that, because we are the biggest model to our children. They look up to us. They're all our mini me's, right? I mean, they are the gifts of things that are working for us and things that are not working for us, because we see it in them. They're like, oh, where did that come from? It's like, oh, wow, they're a beautiful mirror reflection of us as well. And so I know before we recorded, you asked me, who did I write this book for? Of course, I wrote this for the children, and I wrote it with rhyming in mind. So it was really easy for young children, especially when they're learning to read, to learn it and be able to recite these affirmations. But it's also as much for the adults, right? The aunt, the uncle, the mom, the dad, the grandparents, the neighbor, sorry, to be mindful of their word choice, how they're speaking to them. Because whether you like it or not, those little ones are looking up to you. And so when you can be that model as well of how you look at yourself when you stand in front of the mirror, and how what you say to yourself when maybe something doesn't go the way that you want to, so you can say that I'll try again. These words matter to you, right? On your own, like, results and functioning, and on your own beliefs, but also you as a role model for the little ones in your life, because they really do look up to you. And so it is that sort of like that ripple effect of you reading the story to your children just as much as they get to hear the words from you.
Absolutely. I really love that, what you said, that they are looking up to us and we
Mm-hmm.
get to be what we want them to be. We get to be that for them, right?
Yeah.
So, being an educator, like this time, I'm completely focusing on bringing all the educators in my show. So, thank you for, first of all, thank you for again for being here. Being an educator, you have been seeing so many children, right? So many families around you. So,
Mm-hmm.
why is emotional resilience so important for children in today's fast changing world? What is the importance now, where everything is moving so fast, and why
Mm-hmm.
are we focusing on emotional resilience? Why do you think it is important?
So it really comes again, it's that generational piece, right? Like your children are the next generation of you. And so you have generational patterns that come from generation to generation to generation.
Yeah.
And with in today's society, because there is so much fast movement, it's all about speed, right? Connection is lost. It's about being done faster. It's about, on to the next thing. A lot of families are not connecting the way that they used to. Or if you think about many years ago, before there was like a lot of technology, and people really did spend time together. Even if they were maybe outside working on the farm, they were still together, right? But now it's like a lot of these really important skills in children are getting like lost in translation with technology,
Yeah.
with the speed of things, unless you obviously move your family to Panama, where it does feel like we're living back in the 90s again, which is so beautiful and such a gift. And at the same time, it's such a unique experience to see the shifts of society, of what we're used to in, more developed countries, and especially North America. And then you come here and then you see the difference of the way people lead their lives and the way that time is spent. And so it gives you a beautiful insight to really look at how much society does play on who we are and how we show up. And so when our children can really stand like in their confidence and believe in themselves, you are preparing them to be faced with anything that's going to happen. And what happens is, because there's things that are happening so fast right now, there's a lot of trust that gets broken. And as we know, right, in leadership, like the importance of being in integrity and the importance of being your word is so important. And it's these patterns, right? Our children notice these patterns. And why the book is for 4 to 7, because it's such an important time for a child in their brain development. So when they can just hone in on these beliefs and hone in that they can do this, and they really build those neural pathways from such a young age, right? It really strengthens these patterns. But so much of what is being like that children can be exposed to, because there's no filters, right? If you go on YouTube, there's no necessary filters, unless you're maybe using, say, YouTube Kids. With the Netflix, like you can do that, but that takes a parent to go and put some of those sort of filters on, because the natural exposure to what they see, right, it is very unfiltered. And so it's important that we build this resilience in our children for them to make what's best for them decisions and choices that are going to support them. I just think the world is so muddied right now, right? And there's not a lot of clarity. And so there's so much discussion I even know online right now as well, with kind of going back to the 90s, like looking at how were children raised in the 90s, right? Being free, to get a little dirty, to fall down. Like there's been some of these waves in adult adulthood, in parenthood, right? And so when we don't teach our children to build that resilience, then how do they conquer the big things? And this comes at such a young age with that, right? Of being able to believe in themselves versus relying externally on them. And as an educator, the prices that a lot of children pay, when they don't build that from a young age, is it turns into a lot of anxiety and depression in teenage years, right? Because they walk around with a lot of this pressure to perform, this pressure to be perfect, this pressure to get that validation. And so again, why is this so important at this age? Because we want to prepare our children for some more difficult years when it comes to teenage years, right? When peer influence becomes so important, and being able to fit in and feel liked and loved and enough becomes a lot more heightened in teenage years. And so this is where I spend a lot of my career, is working with a lot of teenagers as well. And I see it, right? And so again, it's like I'm going back to the basic of planting those seeds young, so our children have that foundation to now be resilient through some of these other phases of life that they will encounter, especially because there is so much unpredictability. And those foundational pieces are easily rocked these days. And so it's more important than ever to really build a solid foundation in our children, so that, again, they know that no matter what, that they are enough, that they are safe, and that they are loved. And if we can create that and share that more with our children, we are preparing them to tackle a lot of the unknown of what's coming.
Wow, that's amazing. Well said. Because world is so uncertain, and we are seeing surprises every passing day, and the way children are feeling pressurized by their surrounded world, we cannot even imagine what is going uh, inside their mind and what they're thinking, how anxious they are, especially as you said in the teenager. So being a teenager's mother, I
Yeah.
I'm always worried, like how am I contributing in their confidence? So would you tell us what are some thing which you have noticed around you in parents, which that like they unknowingly contribute in their lack of confidence, or unknowingly say something which brings their resilience and confidence down?
Yeah, I think that's a lot of it. It's like the self-talk, right? Like if we do something like quote unquote wrong, again, who would define it as wrong, right? Like that's what we have this perception of, like, or something didn't go well, or just any frustration if something doesn't work out. It's like we have this expectation that things are going to turn out, right? And a lot of, like, I mean, I'll be honest with you, even, I'm running a crowdsourcing campaign right now to help finish the illustrations of the book and to get it to publication this year. And I will tell you, like, oh my goodness, the amount of like self positive talk that I get to go under, because then the automated is to the worst, right? The automated thoughts go already that it's going to be the worst thing. And so then without us so consciously being aware of it, that's what comes out, right? Like our shoulders down, right? Our maybe like the look on our face, the frustration. Like children pick up on this, right? Whether it's maybe a text message you receive or a phone call you receive, they pick up so much on body language, and they're very impressionable. And so then if they see you walk around like this, or like unhappy or frustrated, they pick up on that. And then they also too do the same thing. And so for us, it really starts, step one is just the awareness, right? And a complete awareness, the invitation to even watch your kid, because they leave such little clues. And so watching them navigate certain situations, what happens if maybe their tower of Lego falls down, or what happens if a teenager come home from school, maybe didn't do so good on a test. It's leading with curiosity to understand what is really going on internally, because very likely, like I want to say 99% of what's going on internally is something they've probably heard from you. And, it feels like you and I both know, right? When we're coaching the leaders that we coach, a lot of the questions are like, tell me about your childhood. Tell me about, what did you hear at home? Tell me about when you did your test at school and you came home to share the result. What did you hear? Because a lot of us, and it's so subconscious, right? It's so subconscious because 90 to 95% of our daily actions, decisions are coming from the subconscious. They're automated, right? Just like tying our shoes. We don't think anymore about how to tie the shoe. How many people drive on autopilot? It's so ingrained. And so we don't even realize it, but our kids, they pick up on this. So it would be that invitation is get curious, watch your kids, start conversations to try to understand what is contributing to any anxiety that they may be feeling, any frustration that they're feeling, and what internally is going on, or how do they feel it like in their body to help them feel it. Because how many times also are parents suppressing children's feelings, like stop crying, stop getting so frustrated. You need to feel it. And those little things that we're saying to them, right? They're programming that, and that's what impacts them when they get older. Of okay, I shouldn't feel my feelings. Oh, I shouldn't be so frustrated. And then here's the thing that's mind blowing. The internal dialogue goes, I shouldn't, and now they're shoulding everywhere, and what they focus on grows. So when they're saying I shouldn't be doing this, that's what they're now focusing on, and that's what they're going to create more of. Having a book like Free to Be Me, having little moments throughout the day that says I can do this, I can get back and I can try again. I am strong, I am brave. I feel joy. When we can start programming those as the automated thoughts, the outcomes at the other end are going to be completely different.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. So, what basically you said is check on yourself, check on
Mm-hmm.
yourself, check on your big emotions, the behaviors, or the feelings you're having inside you, because you are impacting your child, and this is where it is beginning. This is where they are creating their patterns. Amazing, amazing. So, how would you suggest parent to teach children to handle big emotions like anger, frustration, or something coming up immediately in front of them, like big surprises? How will you like what are some tips and strategies you would teach parents?
Yeah, I think, and I'm navigating this with my eldest, as we speak. So one of the big thing is connection, like
Okay.
being actually connected with your kid and understanding what is really going on, right? Like, you often hear like, don't ask your kid how was school. It's like, how did you feel at school today? Tell me about today. Like who did you play with? Give them more specific questions so that you can get an answer versus like, how was school today? Right? It's like, oh, it's fine. Like getting into the feeling and changing the questions so that there's an answer they can actually give you more concrete. I also noticed patterns in my own kid. I'm going to share an example this week. My daughter kept sharing that her teacher wasn't going to be there today and that she was going to the doctor. And we talked about, how fun and like all the positive things. But then it dawned on me last night. This is something she brought up a couple times. And so I asked her last night, finally, because it dawned on me, right? I'm like, how do you feel about your teacher not being there tomorrow? And now she was able to share with me some of the concerns she had about her teacher not being there tomorrow. It's not always evident for us, but when we are able to honestly like be present with our kids, when we can pause for a moment and just watch them, right? We often see the behavior, like you're saying, Philza, like with the big explosion. But if we can stop and like in our tracks a little bit and go backwards a little bit to think about, okay, what happened the last couple of days? Was there a change? Was there some new information? Did something get shared? Having a really great relationship with teachers is powerful because they can give you some additional insight. So having like that community communication is very important, and creating that safe space with your child for them to open up to you, right? right? We go back to the beginning. And a lot of, right, we often are in this busy, busy, busy society and we're go, 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 go. And it's like, okay, we go through the, the checklist at night with bedtime. But bedtime, and I've seen this posted, so when you see it all the time, like, okay, let's give this a go. But it's very true. If you can connect with your child before bed and create that safe space with them, where you're cuddled up with them and you go through the day, right? It's really, really amazing what can come out. And for older children, that can look very different, like having date nights, with your kids, like mommy daughter day or son and mommy day or daddy daughter day, like time where you meet the kid where they are at, right? So it might be they play video games. And so it's playing a video game with them. It might be going on a hike with them. It might be going and skipping rocks by the river. It's meeting your kid where they're at and being present and connected with them. I have a mom affirmation that I say because this is to help me be present with my kid, which is I'm a present, patient, playful mom. Because in the moments where all of those big emotions do arrive, guess what? If I get triggered by those emotions, it's just going to add to the fire. So if I can stay present at what is going on, if I can be patient, if I can demonstrate the breathing, right? And in our place, in our house, we have the unicorn breaths. Right? If I can demonstrate the unicorn breaths and I can manage the space and the emotions, and I can lead into play when it's appropriate, because it's not always appropriate when there's big emotions, there's a massive big difference with what's going to go on. Because me too, my emotions are triggered, right? We have our brains, fight, flight, or freeze. So obviously I also get triggered by this. So I also have to check in with me first, right? Of like, where am I at right now with what's going on? Just like they say on the airplane, put your oxygen mask on first. It's the same here. Check in with yourself. How are you feeling in this moment? And then I call it the ABCs. Acknowledge, bend down if you have a little kid, so you're eye and eye, right? Not like over like powering, and simply connect. And I've been inviting my daughter lately to count to 10 because I remember also reading that in one of the brain books, right? Like a whole brain child of once you ask your child to do something, count to 10. So I've been inviting her to do the same thing, and I get to do it too. Because when we can count and we can model for our children how we are navigating our internal, nervous system, they will pick up on that. But we are their safe space,
Yeah.
right? And we also get to make sure that we are also in a safe space for them to protect, sorry, not to, well, yeah, protect them, but like to help them navigate all of this. And so it is really in that pause and that connection and that being of really honestly put down whatever you're doing and lead with like, as a CSI, the CSI investigator of like, okay, really what could be going on here? And just lead with curiosity, for yourself, because whatever you're seeing here could also be triggering for you for something that happened also in the past, right? And so just being so aware of that. So yeah, really, really like getting deeper with yourself, I find has made a really, really big difference. And that pause is gold.
Beautiful. So connection will never let you go down. That's what I heard you saying, and build some connection with your child's educators, with your child's teacher. That's a big thing which I heard you saying. Thank you for bringing that up. I hope parents are listening to this, because this is one thing which helped me also. Like when I'm building that relationship around my child's educator, they are also respecting them. They are also feeling seen and heard by their teachers, and that's very important because they're spending a lot of time with their teachers. So with that, one more thing is coming in my mind. How would you suggest a parent to support a child who is going under peer pressure, like bullying or getting compared by their peers? How would you help those parents?
Help the parent, oh yeah, that has a child that might be feeling
Yeah,
bullied or the
yeah,
peer pressure. You know, I'm always thinking of leadership, and what's one of the first things is like vision. Like what is your vision for your child, but also what's your child's vision, right? Peer pressure, and when we understand where peer pressure comes from the will the willingness or the desire, sorry, to be liked, to be loved, to be accepted, to feel seen and feel enough. And so a child is going to go under that because they're looking for that. They're looking for that acceptance. So I would, same thing before, of like pause and sort of ask yourself, okay, what's missing for my child right now that they're looking for with this peer pressure? It's wanting to be included, right? And so leading again from curiosity, right? When we can lead from curiosity versus judgment, judgment often is the default, right? We're just so into like lean into like, oh, you're being peer pressured and da 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 da. If we can change the conversation, leading curiosity, tell me more about this. Why is this so important to you? Right? You can, again, you can uncover a lot of information, but our default, and many times as parents, is going to the judgment, right? We want to save our kids because we don't want them to get caught up in peer pressure and get caught up in making decisions that maybe we deem as not okay or not right or whatever, right? But for the child's eye, that's not what they see. They see, I want to be accepted by my friends. And so when we can, again, understand the situation bigger, again, it's taking that step back and like, okay, what's really underneath this? Then this can really, really help. With bullying, first of all, I mean, I think the most important thing to understand is the bullying, it's not about the kid, right? It's about the bully. It's like all the bullying that's going on is not about the kid, it's all about them, because that often leads to the child experiencing a lot of self-doubt, right? Why is this kid picking on me? Why, again, our roots, the foundation of wanting to feel seen and heard, wanting to feel enough and worthy, and wanting to feel loved and accepted. So a bully is, again, not hitting that. And so that's going to send a child into a crazy emotional turmoil, because that's, again, what's the child's brain processing is that's what they're going through. When we can understand, because again, the work that we do in leadership, right, is like, it's not about you, it's actually about the kid. There's something going on with the child that's leading that child based on their beliefs and experience and how that child is feeling, that is contributing to the decision to bully you, and therefore is leading to the action of bullying. So the child who's being bullied, that's where these positive affirmations come in, of like, really, who are you as a child? Because that child also gets to stand in the belief of themselves. That's why I kind of went back to vision in terms of like vision and identity, right? Like, how does this child see themselves? If this child is being bullied and the child sees themselves as someone who's weak and can't stand up, how are they going to show up? Weak. But if the child can truly see in themselves as someone who's confident or someone who's very brilliant, or even looking at ways like to understand, like, why is this person particular picking on this person, right? Bullies tend to pick on people that they're jealous of.
Yeah, that's a
Right?
good one. Yes.
Right? Like, I mean, and not in every case, but generally. So it's like, if a child can then see, like, okay, here are all of my very strong qualities that this person, admires, right? Like, bullying can even be sort of an admiration, but it's like they just don't know how to do that. Like, they only know what they see, right? So this, like, children who are bullying other children, that comes through generations. So that is I don't want to say the only way, but let's just say, like, that's most likely for the kid the only way that they know how to show emotion. And so it does come back to connection with your children, really understanding what's at the root cause of what is going on, understanding what are they looking for out of this. And right, in a bullying situation, it might be kind of try to understand that this, like, the empathy piece of like what's happening, but for your child to own their worth, right, own their value, and then really using their voice and standing up for the child, for themselves, right, against the other child. Because right, they'll say, like, bullies can often smell weakness, so it's really supporting kids and owning their worth. And an activity that can help for your children to see that is actually making a list so they can visually actually see all their qualities. Because you can say it, but they need to believe it. And so for them to actually be able to see all of those qualities listed out, even if it's a thing that they put in their back pocket, that's going to help them regain that belief of themselves, of how incredible they are, and all of these skills, or maybe all the reasons that the bully may potentially be jealous of them, right? Because of, look how amazing you are, and like your accomplishments, and just really supporting, and then going back to that. Because it's not a one and done, right? If the child is being picked on, you really get to go back for them to really see and embody their worth, to have the confidence to stand up to the bully.
Wow, that's amazing. Like if your child is getting bullied, let them know that it's not about them, it's about the child who is bullying you. And that opens a door for us to communicate and connect and know what's underneath the feeling, and we can support our children. At the same time, we can open the door of empathy for the other child who is bullying them. That's a huge thing. And with that, how do you support a child who's constantly judging themselves, like comparing and always feeling low and always feeling lesser than? How do you support those children?
It always goes back to the same thing. It's like, what's contributing to that?
Okay.
Right? We have our the foundation, right? Feeling seen and heard, feeling loved and accepted, and feeling, safe and secure. And so if any of those are at jeopardy in the brain's mind, then the child's going to go in that. So it's like, what are they looking for? Right? Something is missing for them. And it again, it helps with that connection. Well, I will say, when it comes to teenagers in specific, because of course this is a lot of times where we often will see this happen, right, in later childhood and heading into teenagers, is that it may not be you as a parent that's going to be the person that is going to be able to create this connection. They might need an aunt or a really good friend of the family or a teacher. This is why I reiterated like the importance of having that relationship between you and the teachers, because there might be a teacher, there might be a counselor, might be somebody in the school that your child admires and has that relationship. It might actually be that person that's going to be their person. We call it like, kind of a safe person, the person that they know that they can go to where they feel they're not being judged. Because as a parent, right, sometimes in teenager years, especially if your child has some of those, is experiencing some of that, and it's been around for a while, they start to feel like my parents might judge me if I open up to them and tell them what's going on. Right. And our children want to be loved by their parents. And so they're not going to want to put something in jeopardy, or what they feel that could jeopardize how their parents are seeing them. And it's safer for a teenager to actually have another adult that they can reach out to. So if you have a child like that and you're noticing that, as a parent, I would brainstorm with your child, or look at, okay, who could be maybe another child. And I read this once about the importance of like the aunt and niece relationship, because oftentimes it's the aunt that tends to be that person for a child if they have an aunt in their life. And many times for myself, I was actually that oftentimes for children in the school. Right. And so that's what I'm saying. It could be somebody in the school that may even not be a teacher, but another adult in the school that relates really well with your child. I would look for that, right? Someone that has commonalities with your child that can really relate for them and stand for them and help them work through what they're experiencing.
Wow, Alex. One last question. Like I can go on and on and on with a lot of questions because I'm loving this conversation. One strong message to a parent, what would you give that one strong message to a parent who wants to raise strong, resilient, and confident children?
Be the model. Be the model for them, and integrate, especially when they're younger, nighttime affirmations with them. And because if you can start saying affirmations to them as they fall asleep, that's the last thing that they hear before they go to bed, that they are strong, they're loved, they're enough, they can do it. Like really, really starting to just like model that for them. And then an extension to that would be then throughout the day, look for ways to invite that, right? When you're paying attention and connected to the words you hear them say, it's like every time my kid goes, I can, and I say, Abby, what do you say? Like, she's like, no, okay, I can do this. I'm like, yes, you can do it. You can do it. You can do it. And she does it. I have my daughter's friend that did it the other day. She took an affirmation sentence that I shared with Abby. I shared it with her. She learned to ride her bike, right? When we can just start to interrupt the dialogue from a young age, from this, like, I can't do this is hard, to you got this, you can do this, I'm here to help you, you're not alone, right? Changes the dialogue, the conversation, it changes the outcome. And it's one of the reasons why my, Free to Be Me comes with additional resources at the end of the book, because of my experience, my background in education as a mom. I've integrated some ways to continue the conversation and to create your own version of affirmations to have, in school, at home, or even, if you're a coach, coaching children, like ways to integrate, the strategies in the lives of children that are around you and that you impact.
Thank you, Alex. So, where can my viewers find you? Is there any free gift would you like to offer to them?
So right now you can go to the website at freetobemekids.com. So that's where you'll find the the pre-order to the book. We also have the crowdsourcing campaign going on until March 16th. So we will drop. I know Phil, you said you'd share that in the book as well. So if you want to be a sponsor or a donor to the campaign to really help us get this book to completion this year, you can go there. And then, right now I'm actually hanging out a lot on Instagram. So alex.lianne.carter. So if you want to send me a message there, follow along with the journey and the stories. The book will be officially launched on September 8th this year on World Literacy Day. I'm really excited about that. And just stay tuned, and there'll be additional, I will be putting together some additional, gifts and resources with this book so that you, again, can continue this conversation at home with your children.
Wow, thank you so much. I will put all the links in the description box, and you can directly go and connect with Alex on Instagram, and I will put the link in the description box for you to go and easily meet Alex personally. With that, thank you, Alex, for being here. I'm so grateful for you.
Thank you, Philza, and thank you for everyone who's listened today. And I look forward to hearing if you have any other questions and just how you're standing for your children and creating, a childhood where they feel free to be themselves.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. With that, we have come to an end to this week, the Prospective series. We will meet again next week with another expert. Bye bye. Take care.